Hey there. So let's talk about the past. Ever find yourself kind of stuck, wondering if you should say, I used to do that or I would do that? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. It's one of those things that can really trip you up in English. So today, we are going to clear all that confusion up. We're talking about past habits, past situations, all the stuff that's not true anymore. And this great little explainer comes to us from the folks over at the American English Academy. They're awesome at breaking down tricky English grammar points and making them super clear. You know, we all love to look back, right? To reminisce about the way things were. We talk about, old jobs, places we lived, the kind of music we were into. It's all part of the story of who we were. But if you want to tell that story right, you got to have the right tools in your grammar toolkit. So yeah, let's get right into it. How do you talk about those things? A hobby you don't have time for anymore, or a belief you've changed your mind about, or that old apartment you used to live in. How do we talk about that stuff correctly? Well, let's find out.
All right, let's jump in. And listen, if you only remember one thing from today, make it this. Used to is your best friend here. It's like your go-to all-purpose tool for talking about the past.
The rule is actually really simple. You just take used to and pop the basic form of the verb right after it. Like walk, live, be. It's pretty much perfect for anything from past habits, like maybe smoking, to past states, like being really shy, or just stuff you typically did that you don't do anymore.
Okay, and here's how it looks in action. A regular positive sentence is easy. Sam used to walk to work. But, and pay attention here, because this is important, look at the negative and the question. See how the did at the end of used just vanishes? It becomes didn't used to drive and did you used to ride? That little detail is absolutely key to getting it right.
Okay, so you're feeling good about used to, right? Awesome. Now let's bring in its slightly trickier cousin, would. Now the whole secret to knowing when to use used to and when to use would, well, it all comes down to one simple idea: the difference between actions and states. And this chart right here just lays it all out so perfectly. Check it out. On the left, we've got repeated actions, stuff you did over and over, like going skiing. For that, you can use either used to or would. I used to go skiing, I would go skiing. Both are totally fine. But, and this is the big one, look at the right side. Past states. Things that were just a fact, not an action. Like owning skis. For that, it's only used to. You used to own skis. You would never, ever say, I would own them. Makes sense, right? So let's dig a little deeper into that. This whole idea brings us to something called stative verbs. It sounds technical, but it's not really. They're just verbs that describe a state or a condition, not an actual action. So think of words like be, have, own, understand, feel, love. With any of those, you're always going to use used to, never would. Let me show you exactly what I mean with a couple examples. So, Pete used to be 15 pounds heavier. Being heavier is a state. It's not an action he was doing, so it has to be used to be. Same thing with the next one. I didn't used to understand K-pop. Understanding is a mental state, right? So again, it's used to. If you try to use would in either of those sentences, yeah, it just sounds really off to a native English speaker. Okay, and one last super quick but really important tip for you. If you're talking about something that happened just once or for a very specific amount of time, you actually don't need used to or would. You just use the good old simple past tense, like I lived in Japan for 4 years. See, that's a specific, completed block of time. Simple past is what you want there. All right, enough with the theory. The best way to make this stuff stick is to actually try it out. So, you ready for a little quiz? Let's test your knowledge and see how you do. First question. When Paul was a boy, he blank play outside all day. What do you think we should put in that blank? The answer is C. Both are correct. And why is that? Well, because playing is a repeated action, something he did over and over. So would play and used to play both work just fine. Okay, next one. Sarah used live in Los Angeles. So think about it. Is living somewhere a repeated action, or is it more of a state, a situation? It's a state, right? So that means the only correct answer here is B, used to. You wouldn't say Sarah would live in Los Angeles if you're talking about her past situation. All right, how about this? Omar lank be afraid of insects. What kind of verb is be? We talked about this. It's a classic stative verb, right? It describes a state, which means the answer has to be be. Omar used to be afraid. Last question of our little quiz. There used to be a big field of flowers here. Now it's a parking lot. Once again, we've got that verb to be describing a past state of existence. So the only right answer is A. There used to be. Awesome job with that.
Okay, you made it through the rules, you crushed the quiz. Now let's just do a super quick review to make sure all this information really sticks in your brain.
So here's your cheat sheet. The bottom line is this. Number 1, used to works for everything. Past habits, past states, all of it. So if you're ever in doubt, just use used to. It's your safe bet. Number 2, only use would for repeated past actions. And number 3, for specific events with a clear beginning and end, just use the simple past. Got it? That's really all you need to remember. You know, it's these little details that really make the difference, that take your English from just okay to really fluent and natural. So if this was helpful for you, just think what else you could learn. Go ahead and subscribe to the American English Academy on YouTube. They've got tons of other fantastic lessons just like this one. And hey, I want to leave you with a little something to think about using the grammar we just practiced. What's one thing you used to do that you'd kind of like to start doing again? Give it some thought. It's a great way to practice. Thanks so much for tuning in.